Next at 10.
This is the cycle of human suffering that I am determined to end.
President Trump addresses the nation, asking for billions to fund his border wall. New developments in a weekend murder point to a possible strained relationship between a Pike County woman and her 2 daughters.
If you're seeing sudden mood changes, mood shifts, that is one thing a parent can look for.
A local expert on child behavior shares some of the warning signs and resources for parents dealing with violent teens.
2018 ends as the 3rd deadliest year for the capital city in 23 years. 84 homicides. 3 on your side spent months tracking those killings. I'm Chief Investigative Reporter CJ LeMaster. Coming up, the shocking details behind those numbers and what that could mean for the capital city.
A new year and a new list of issues for lawmakers to tackle at the state capitol. I'm Courtney Ann Jackson, and I'll have a recap of day 1 of the 2019 legislative session.
Trying to lose weight or simply live a healthier lifestyle? A look at the top diets for 2019 and how you can keep your weight loss goals on track.
An earthquake here in the Magnolia State and tumbling temperatures. I'm tracking it for you coming up.
WLBT, 3 on your side. WLBT News starts now.
President Donald Trump addresses the nation tonight in an attempt to convince skeptics about why the U.S. needs a border wall. The president did not declare a national emergency, but he did say the immigration issue is a crisis of both the heart and soul. President Trump also reiterated that Democrats can end the partial government shutdown if they concede to his demand on border funding.
The federal government remains shut down for one reason, and one reason only, because Democrats will not fund border security.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, speaking after President Trump's remarks, called on the president to separate the shutdown from the arguments over border security. It's now day 18 of the partial government shutdown, and many Mississippians who depend on food stamps are wondering if their food aid will be cut. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, which oversees the Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program, or SNAP, is being affected by this shutdown. The program helps low-income individuals and families buy the food they need for good health. The Mississippi Food Network in Jackson is ready to help out. The nonprofit supplies food to 430 agencies across the state each month. They want to make sure no Mississippians go hungry.
We are making our agencies aware that it's a possibility that they're going to see an increase in the need of people who need their services. We're trying to look at our budgets and make sure that we have enough food in the warehouse to accommodate the extra need. We raise money on a daily basis to purchase food.
The Mississippi Food Network provides food to more than 50 counties in this state. New details tonight about a 3.7 earthquake in the Mississippi Delta. Shaking was felt throughout Washington County, the center in Hollandale. We spoke with Washington County EMA Director David Burford about the damage.
You know, we're going to get out and do some double checking in the morning just to make sure, but right now we haven't received any reports and we've been able to find any damage or anything. So, you know, right now we're just waiting on daylight to get here tomorrow and we'll double check.
And right now our chief first alert meteorologist Dave Roberts is here with some more on that earthquake, and our temperatures are going down.
Yeah, they are. You know, never a dull moment here in Mississippi, that's for sure. That 3.7 quake, Maggie, is one of the strongest quakes that we've actually had here in Mississippi, possibly in decades. Just looking at some of the information here, Brad Bryan over at the Weather Service actually was looking that up and couldn't find one this strong unless you go back to 1967. So a 3.7 overall isn't considered that strong. It happened at 4:26 this afternoon, but let's put it in perspective. Remember a few years ago, 2015, we had a couple of quakes, a 3.2 in Canton, a 3.2 also in Madison, pretty much around the same time frame. Well, today's quake of 3.7 is obviously stronger. It comes in 5 times stronger than those quakes back in 2015. Now, the all-time record quake for Mississippi, it may not seem like it's that strong, but a 4.7, that's actually 177 times stronger stronger than the quakes we had with Madison and Canton. And if you want to talk about the worst of the worst, that's the New Madrid fault in our part of the country. That quake back in the 1800s, 5 million times stronger than the quakes that we felt in Madison County back in 2015. Fortunately, around here, we're not dealing with major quakes right now. We're dealing with major changes in our weather. After having such warm temperatures out there, hitting 77 today, we're now 54, and it's going even lower. How low will the temperature go? And when's the next chance for rain? My forecast in a few minutes.
Dave, thanks. 2018 will go down as the third deadliest year in Jackson's history. 84 people lost their lives. Tonight, Chief Investigative Reporter CJ LeMaster takes a closer look at those numbers and how we stack up against other cities across the nation. He joins us live from Jackson Police Headquarters with details.
Yeah, Maggie, I mean, we can tell you right now, 2018's homicide rate is historic, the highest it's ever been. That's according to an exhaustive analysis of JPD data that was given to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But Jackson's mayor disagrees with that. Tonight, we'll share with you what we've learned after tracking dozens of killings in an effort to try to make sense of what could have happened. Jackson's homicide rate for 2018 stands at 50.3 per 100,000 people. While it's the highest in the capital city's history, it's also one of the highest in the nation, worse than New Orleans, Memphis, even Detroit. In fact, it's twice the rate of Chicago, meaning you're twice as likely to get killed in Jackson as you are the Windy City. We looked at 24 different cities with more than 150,000 people to see where Jackson's homicide rate ranked. Third, below Birmingham and St. Louis nationwide. What about the numbers themselves? Well, here's what we can tell you based on what we've kept up with for 12 months. 9 in 10 of these homicide victims died from shootings. 1/3 were between the ages of 26 and 35. And most of these killings, 37%, happened in Precinct 3, which is west of Interstate 55 and north of the Jackson Zoo. Precinct 4, Northeast Jackson, stood out as safest in the city. Only 10% of last year's killings happened there. Perhaps the most surprising fact from our investigation, nearly twice as many women were killed in the capital city last year than in 2017. 15 victims in all. What does it all mean? Well, we don't really know, at least from a law enforcement perspective. We presented some of our historical homicide data to JPD and asked for an interview or statement for this story. Neither Sergeant Roderick Holmes nor Chief James Davis responded. Now, we reached out to the mayor's office today to talk to him about this and get an on-camera interview. We got this statement instead. It reads in part, quote, "The city is deeply concerned about the growing homicide rate." Now, he also mentioned in there that, of course, this is not the highest the city's seen. He basically says their data tells them that over 70% of the homicides are based on interpersonal relationships that are broken down, and they're actually supporting and encouraging things like violence interruption training because they cannot simply police it. Now, you can see the full statement from the mayor on our website, WLBT.com. And you can also read up on the latest on these investigations, these homicide investigations from the last year and beyond. A special section on our website devoted to that. It's at WLBT.com/Jackson-homicides. Reporting live in Jackson, CJ LeMaster, 3 on your side.
New at 10, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation needs help identifying this child. Take a look at these photos now. The child his remains were found in eastern Sharkey County in January of 2014. You're looking at an artist rendering from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. He was between the age of 5 and 7 at the time of his death. If you have any information, call MBI, the Highway Patrol, or Crime Stoppers. A man was brutally attacked by someone trying to steal from his family's convenience store in Jackson. It happened around 8 last night at the One Stop Food Mart on Northside Drive. The victim says he is visiting from India and he was working the cash register while a family member ran an errand. He says he locked the doors on a man who tried to leave the store with several items without paying. That man then attacked him, breaking his arm and leaving several bruises. 3 on your side, speaking exclusively with the victim today.
He come inside and blindly beating me, and he got my base bat from my hand and hit 4 or 5 shots. And he tried to hit me on the head, but I used my right hand to stop him.
Police are still working to identify a suspect tonight. If you have any information, call Crime Stoppers. Now in legislative news, Mississippi lawmakers are back at the state capitol this week as they begin the 2019 legislative session. 3 on Your Side's Courtney Ann Jackson was there as it kicked off at noon, and she joins us live from the Capitol with more from day one.
Maggie, if you take a look at the calendar, you realize that once they finish a 3-month session, it won't be long before it's time for the statewide primary elections. And because of that, a lot of these lawmakers will be pulling double duty with legislative work here at the state capitol and beginning their campaigns for 2019.
Everybody's posturing for different positions, and it's just fun around the Capitol this time of year to see what's going to take place, who's going to run for what.
So will election year impact what's accomplished? One impact could be more work across the aisle.
I do think that we may see a real bipartisan effort with regard to criminal justice reform. That's much needed.
We're going to make sure that it accomplishes the goals that we have, and that's primarily getting those who leave the system in a position whereby they can be productive members of society.
Teacher pay raises are being brought up by both Republicans and Democrats, but some have said they'd want to also look at the possibility of a raise for other state workers as well. Speaker Philip Gunn is looking to add strengthening human trafficking laws to the agenda.
It's a scourge on our state. We're trying to make sure that we do what we can to stop that.
Last year's special session took care of 2 hot topics, creation of a state lottery and infrastructure funding. But not everyone thinks it's enough.
What we did was like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg where we need to put a cast on it. We need major help for our roads and bridges.
And we learned there will be a change in leadership on the Senate side. Senator Terry Burton was charged with second offense DUI last month.
I hope that my actions and the spotlight that has been shown on me does not reflect back on the 51 people I'm looking at right now.
Burton will remain in his Senate seat but will not seek re-election in 2019. But he did announce that he's resigning from his post as Senate pro tempore effective at midnight. Now, some other topics, or potential topics, I should say, that I'll be watching here at the state capitol as the session progresses. There are a few of them, one of them being potential changes to rural broadband access, a potential repeal of that tax that was added during the special session to hybrid and electric vehicles, and finally, a possible push to end the excessive amount of state testing that some teachers and students have complained about. For now, live from the state capitol, Courtney Ann Jackson, 3 on Your Side.
Next at 10, why authorities were called to the home of a woman allegedly killed by her 2 daughters just days before her death. Plus, 3 on Your Side is breaking down the top diets of the year for those of you hoping to get in shape this year. Three on Your Side learning new details about a Pike County woman authorities say was killed by 2 of her daughters. Well, today investigators tell us 2 days before Erica Hall was killed, she called authorities for help. Hall was found stabbed multiple times and shot Friday night. Her 14-year-old daughter, Mariana Hall, is now charged as an adult with her murder. A 12-year-old girl was also taken into custody. Wednesday, before her death, deputies were called to Hall's Lawson Road home on a disturbance call for an unruly child. Hall did not press charges against the 14-year-old in that incident. For some parents, disciplining her children or your children can be difficult. And tonight, 3 on Your Side's Nick Ducote talks with a professional counselor about alternatives to physical discipline.
Dr. Damian Thomas with the Resilience Counseling Center walked us through what parents should be looking for when it comes to violent behavior.
I would start by observing the young person's peer group, making sure that they're hanging around individuals who are not engaged in any type of violent acts, violent behavior, making sure that they're engaged in structured activities like school.
Dr. Thomas also says to be on the lookout for grades dropping and your children getting into trouble in school as indicators of when to see a counselor or a therapist. He says a connection with violent kids he's seen is that they're either not in school or associating with violent individuals, and sometimes both. Thomas adds the parental figure should be the ultimate model in making sure your child doesn't resort to violence at home or in the real world.
Parent or any adult should always encourage what I call courtesy words, making sure that they're using words to express themselves and not use violence to express themselves, to make sure that we're using authoritative parenting, which consists of boundaries, consists of discipline, which consists of them knowing the limits of a certain behavior. And so modeling overall is what we encourage.
The doctor also orders taking the games, cell phones, or other items away instead of physically disciplining your children. In Jackson, Nick Ducote, 3 on your side.
Kind of hard to beat a day like today out there. It was so beautiful. Well, we have some cooler weather ahead and maybe a chance for rain too. I'm tracking it for you coming up.
Plus, if you're looking to get fit in the new year, we have some tips. 3 on your side breaks down the top diets of the year.
This is WLBT First Alert Weather.
Health Insurance Camp from the Magnolia Bluffs Hotel overlooking the bridge here crossing the Mississippi. It's a nice night out there, although it really has cooled down. We're down to 54 now in Jackson, Natchez and Macomb 59, as cool as 58 or 53, I should say, in Yazoo City. We will wind up in the 40s here in the next few hours. It's going to happen with mainly clear skies out there. But today's high temperature of 77 was certainly an interesting one. All right, first off, it came very close to the record of 78 set back in 1937. Also, 77 is the normal high temperature for the end of April, not the beginning of January. But hey, I'm not complaining. And 56 is the normal high. By the way, this week and next, considered the coldest typically, usually for winter here in Mississippi. So 77 is a big bonus on a day or a week like this. 54 right now. Overnight tonight, temperatures will continue to drop off. We'll wind up in the lower and middle 40s in the morning. Mainly dry weather out there. Sunshine through lunchtime tomorrow. Lower 50s. So where's our 70s? Because tomorrow afternoon, not going to happen. We're looking at about 49 in Kosciuszko for the high temperature. 54 in Vicksburg and Jackson. Macomb possibly reaching up to 56 in the middle of the afternoon. While we're going to have some sunshine for really the next few days, we have this storm system that's going to take shape in Texas and start moving toward us. Friday, really Friday night, that's where rain will start to enter the picture. That's snow and a lot of it. Not here, but in Arkansas and Missouri. On Saturday, it turns wet around here with lots of showers, maybe some rumbles of thunder. Don't worry, I'm not looking at severe weather from this particular system. It will move on through Saturday. It's out of here by Sunday, but what's not out of here is the colder and cloudy weather that we're probably going to experience going into the second half of this weekend. Now, we've had a lot of rain recently. Last year, the past couple of weeks, we're looking at an additional inch or so, possibly over the coming days. That should not cause any flooding problems, though. It's not quite enough to cause too many issues. Don't forget, of course, with all the changing weather out there, we're here for you. Our free First Alert Weather app at your fingertips. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In the morning, sun coming up at 7:02. Ought to see it pretty well tomorrow with temperatures in the low to middle 40s. Bundle up because there's going to be a bit of a breeze throughout the day out of the north. So that 52 at noon may actually feel a little colder than that, but plenty of sunshine in the afternoon. Temperatures ought to reach the mid-50s, which is near normal for this time of year. Dry the next couple of days, slight chance for showers Friday. Then the weekend rolls around, and your Mississippi weekend forecast showing you that Saturday will probably be the rainy day with temperatures in the 50s. Not so rainy on Sunday, but not so warm either. Temperatures are going to be in the 40s on Sunday. It's going to be a blustery kind of day, but with sunshine, we ought to warm it back up into the 50s early next week.
For many, a new year means a chance to jumpstart your nutritional plan. It's often a chance to switch from a non-healthy lifestyle to plans that lead to weight loss and better living. But how? Our Melissa Faith Payne joins us in the studio now with a few tips.
So, Maggie, U.S. News and World Report released several lists of top diets. They had the best overall diet, the best diets for those who have diabetes, even best commercial diets. So I sat down with a professional chef who's also a fitness trainer to get the skinny on these plans. Chef Kenneth Everett is the head chef at 4th Avenue Lounge. He also does meal preps for those who are seeking to lose weight or simply live a healthier lifestyle. The Mediterranean diet is listed as the best overall and also the easiest easiest diet to follow. It focuses on more fruits and veggies and fish and less red meat. But Everett says before you start a new diet, you should consult a professional, and you should also take into account how your body processes food.
So if you eat a lot of rice, a lot of pasta, those are carbs. So if you eat a lot of that and your body holds on to that, you know, if you're trying to lose weight, you might need to cut those back.
So if you would prefer a more structured commercial diet plan, these are the top 3, and this is according to U.S. News and World Report. Weight Watchers is number 1, followed by Jenny Craig, and the Nutritarian diet is number 3. And if you're just simply looking for the easiest diets, once again, that Mediterranean diet is number 1. The Flexitarian and Weight Watchers are tied at number 2. And for a complete list of those top diets and a full description of each one, head over to our website. It's Wlbt.com.
All right, Melissa, thanks so much. Next at 10, several are hurt in an explosion at an ammunition plant in Oxford. What likely protected them from more serious injuries? New at 10, Lafayette County deputies are investigating an explosion at an ammunition plant in Oxford. 7 employees were injured, but officials say no one was seriously hurt. The Winchester plant makes ammo for rifles and pistols, as well as military ammo packaging. This drone video shows the plant with no obvious signs of an explosion, so it apparently was all contained inside the plant. Dr. Thomas Smith says everyone was wearing protective gear at the time of the explosion, which likely protected them. In November, we told you about Clinton police officers boarding school buses to look out for drivers who refuse to obey the law. Well, this morning, Clinton police officers were reminding bus drivers about safety as kids return to school from the Christmas and New Year holidays. Sergeant Jason Hewlett encourages bus drivers to obey all traffic laws and explains how they can report cars and other vehicles that don't stop when buses are loading and unloading students. Clinton police will also be stepping up traffic and bus safety now that school is back in session. Next at 10, the MSU Bulldogs playing their SEC opener tonight against South Carolina. Mike Sands has highlights right after this break.